Hi, so we're going to be talking through the Guitar 2 parts for Made for This. This is the For All Seasons song, and it's specifically the arrangement that we're working up for CTI Music Ministries full-time teams, the program year 17-18. So the Guitar 2 parts are pretty simple. There's really just two things that you'll be playing. One is octaves, and the other is power chords. So they're very similar. The only trick, if you're not used to playing octaves, is going to be to make sure that the octave sounds really cleanly, like that, and that you're using your first finger here to kind of mute this middle string so it doesn't sound like that. If it's not something you're used to playing, working on getting that precision in the right hand and that muting in the left hand might take a little bit of practice, but it's not a hard skill, so it won't take too long. If it's a little bit muddy, just working on getting it clean, it'll definitely get there. So in the intro, that is going to be kind of the first thing that you're going to want to focus on is keeping those octaves really clean sounding. The other thing that you're going to want to focus on is really locking in with Guitar 1, because they're also going to be playing octaves. They'll be playing a different note in octaves than you will be, and they're complementing notes, so you'll create kind of like a third harmony that you'll move kind of up and down. But because you'll be playing the same rhythm and you'll both be playing octaves, it can get really muddy if the two of you aren't locked in together. So I would actually suggest that the two of you practice that intro together before you do this in full band if you get the chance. So you'll play through that chord progression twice in the intro, and the first time it's just you and Guitar 1, and the second time it's full band. That first time, you can hear kind of in the recording they have some different effects on the first pass and the second pass, but we can kind of replicate that a little bit, and if it sounds dumb, then change it in full band. But I'm thinking we can go for a really clean sound that first time. And then for the second pass, kick on your overdrive. Just like that. And you won't ever have to go back to that clean sound. It's really just for the intro. So, like I said, if it doesn't work in full band, you can always change it then, but it might be kind of a cool thing to do, and Guitar 1 will be doing the same thing. So, those intro chords, those octaves, you're going to play them on here on the 9th and 11th fret, and then down to 7 and 9, down to 6 and 4, up 1 fret to 5 and 7, and then you'll go up a string and up 2 frets to 7 and 9 here, and then up 2 more frets to 9 and 11. So one more time through that intro progression. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you'll get to the first verse, which you will be out for. So that is very simple. And I'm sure you can hear it. I often, after a big line like that, if I'm going to the verse 1, I suggest this. It's not essential, but I will often land on that C sharp minor, just octaves on the C sharp minor, and then immediately pull it back so that it doesn't get to verse 1, the arrival on verse 1, and sound like somebody forgot to play. Totally optional, but nice if you can do it. Then you'll be out for verse 1, and then in the chorus, now on the guitar note sheet, I told you power chords as voiced to the right, and then there's no power chords voiced to the right. So sorry about that. That's my bad. Luckily, these are very easy chords. I would voice the E down here, but I would just hit these low 3 strings. So either you can mute the higher strings with one of your fingers, or you can just not play them with your right hand. But that creates that nice low power chord. And then A, up on 5 and 7. I think you probably already know these, but I'll go through them just in case. And then C sharp minor is up 4 and 6, but it's up a string, so on you have your first finger on the A string. Just like that. And then back to A. So those are very, very simple chords. The chorus for you, sorry, having camera issues. The chorus for you is going to sound like this. 2, 3, 4. So, you'll go straight from the chorus into the turn, which is just like the intro, as you just heard me play, and then straight from the turn into verse 2, which you will play in verse 2. You're actually going to play the same octaves that you just played in the turn, but without the rhythm. So in the turn, it's... And you can hear me kind of... with both my right hand and lifting up on my left hand to create a little bit of muting and a little bit of space in between those chords. If you don't lift up with your left hand where you need that space, it's going to get super muddy and you're never going to have that definition. But you'll hear that in the turn and the intro when I play it, and you should play it the same way, but hopefully just a little bit cleaner than how I'm playing it now. But verse 2, you're just going to play downstrum, like 8th notes. Sorry, you don't go back to that C sharp minor at the end of the verse. At the end of the verse, there is that, on a life that brings him praise, there's 2 big hits that you'll hear in the rest of the band. And so while you've been doing those kind of 8th note downstrums the whole time, when you get to the end of that, so that we could live a life. There it is. A life that brings him praise. And then you go right back to the power chords that you played in the chorus. But make sure that you're listening and in with the rest of the band for those hits. It's just, instead of continuing with your strums, just one hit on both of those and let it ring, and you'll hear the motion stop in the rest of the band. So just keep your brain on that. Keep your brain thinking about that. You know what I'm saying. At the end of the second line in verse 2, there's also a full band cut. There's kind of like a lift. It's not a full cut. There's a bit of lift. What I'm saying is you'll hear some instruments kind of drop out. You'll continue, unless it sounds weird in full band and Casey tells you something else. But in the recording, the guitar octaves continue that 8th note strumming there. So you hear the rest. You hear some of the instruments kind of cut or just like lift a little bit. You keep going with what you're doing and don't be swayed by the fact that they're not playing there all of a sudden. The chorus is exactly like that other chorus that you just played, so those power chords, just those 3, you know how to play those. And then in the instrumental, you're going to be playing the power chords of the chords as written, but those are those big hits in the whole band. So every member of the band is going to be playing these hits. So it's going to be really important to listen to everybody else and to really lock in. But just like that. You'll hear it in the recording. You'll hear the rest of the band play it. The only kind of different thing about this than the other power chords that you've been playing is when you go to the E over G sharp, instead of just playing the E and knowing that the bass has the G sharp, you'll actually play octave G sharps right here. And you'll want to play the octave G sharps because if you play it like a power chord, you're going to get this note. And that is not in the E chord, and you don't want that note. So octave, and then up to the B. sorry. Just like that. So in the bridge, you'll be playing power chords, just like all the other chords that you've been playing. You know exactly where these are voiced. Sounds a little something like this. Giver of grace. Goes on like that into another chorus, which is just like every other chorus for you. And that is the whole song and all of your parts.